Apple is going to cancel the iPhone. Scratch that. Hold on a second. Is that true? Apple loves the iPhone, and they're finally going to make it better than ever. These days, it sort of seems like Apple is all over the board. They're all in on Vision OS and VR headsets, and then Apple Intelligence is the future of the company. But don't forget about watches or tablets or AirPods. It seems like Apple's got so much going on right now that you don't really know what they care about, which sort of begs the question, what exactly is the future of the iPhone? Because it could kind of go two ways. On one hand, maybe the iPhone sort of is the next iPod that soon is sunset and sent off to greener pastures. Or on the other hand, maybe this is sort of the beginning of a new era for the iPhone, where things are about to change in a really exciting way that make the iPhone feel like it's totally new again. It's safe to say the iPhone and Apple are sort of going through a midlife crisis right now, so let me tell you what's probably going to happen next.
Stop me if you've already seen this.
In the early days of the iPhone, things felt like they were changing all the time because they kind of were. Look at the iPhone 2G, to the 3G, to the 4, to the 5, to the 6, to the 7. Every other year, Apple was making major design changes. They were adding in new features all the time. Things were just super exciting and super competitive, with the world of Android really coming up trying to take Apple's throne. And yeah, there's a point to be made that, tech was advancing way more back then and there were more leaps that could be taken and things like that. But I don't know, lately it just feels like we've lost all of that excitement and things are kind of stale and boring. The design really hasn't changed all that much in the last couple of years. We've gotten some silicon bumps, some camera bumps. We've added some camera bumps to our iPhones, and that's kind of been it. And I know all the leaks and rumors right now say the iPhone 17 is going to be giving us some bigger changes and the design is finally going to change. But let's also be real about this. We hear that every single year. We always hear that this is the year that everything changes, and then things ultimately mostly end up pretty disappointing. Let me start with the doom and gloom scenario first because it's just more fun for me. Look, there is certainly a world that exists where the iPhone is not Apple's crown jewel anymore, whether it's because they just can't attract enough new customers, or if its growth has plateaued, or if there's not as much innovative stuff they can do. Whatever the one factor is, or all of those factors combined, there definitely is a story that plays out here where the iPhone right now is at the beginning of its end, that Apple sort of had their fun, the best days of the iPhone are behind it, and we're gonna start to transition to something new because Apple sort of tapped out on what they can do with their phone. And I think this really could be true for a couple of reasons. Number one is that, remember, back in the beginning of the iPhone, those early days, not only was tech rapidly advancing in a way more fast-paced way than it is right now, but remember, not everybody owned a smartphone. So not only was Apple, capitalizing on these major technological breakthroughs, but also they were trying to attract people who had never owned an iPhone before, or even a smartphone before. So the trajectory was just going up and up and up for the longest time. And as Apple conquered one part of the world, they would move to another and another and another. And it seemed like there was an endless supply of customers who were getting an iPhone for the very first time. These days, though, that dynamic has certainly changed. Not only has basically everyone now got a mobile phone, but they're also very entrenched in their ecosystems. Either they're already in Team Apple or they're in Team Android, and people are holding on to their phones a lot longer than they used to, and they're just not feeling very compelled to update or spend the money on a new phone as often as they once did, because the changes aren't happening as rapidly or things aren't as innovative as they were just a couple of years ago. The other part of the story, something that definitely sort of plays right into this narrative for Apple, is that they believe they've already got the next big hit. They know what the future of their devices are going to be, and it's all about Vision OS. It's the groundwork for what is to come. It's mixed reality, it's new experiences. If you put aside the sort of crazy compromises that Vision Pro makes in terms of hardware, and if you set aside the $3,500 price, it is a very cool experience that, if it was delivered in the right form factor and at the right price, could be a really big hit. And obviously we're in the early days of this, but Apple firmly believes, and they're pushing this more than anything right now, this is the future of their devices, and this is the future they want to go. And one of the reasons I think they're going so hard in this direction is they're able to get all these people who already own iPhones to buy a totally new device again. If they're really setting up the stage for the mixed reality headset or glasses or whatever it is to be the future of phones, that opens up a whole new set of customers for them. It basically resets everything and allows them to make a whole lot of money. Probably way easier for them to get people to buy a whole new device if it can do all these new things than to try to convince people to give up their old iPhones or Android phones and buy a new phone like every single year, every other year. Sort of get what I'm saying there. Now, something else that also makes this whole thing particularly interesting as well is this new report that says Tim Cook is like on a mission to beat Meta Facebook at their own game and build and release these amazing AR glasses before them and really anyone else. And we've heard all along this was the main goal of Vision Pro, that the final form of this thing was never going to be a big clunky headset, but it was going to be sleek, minimal glasses like what I've got on right now that would sort of use Vision OS software and sort of augment the real world and the digital world together. And according to recent reports, as of a couple of days ago, he is on a warpath inside of Apple to get these glasses built and get them made, and this still remains his top priority, which might spell bad news for the fate of the iPhone ultimately. But obviously there's the flip side, the side that says that, hey, this is Apple's cash cow. We're not giving up our cell phones anytime soon. We still need these things. And until the mixed reality future you're talking about gets way more, affordable and gets way less bulky, we're gonna need these. So Apple has got some room to innovate. And if you look at what Samsung and Huawei and other companies are doing, there is certainly more that Apple can do. And if you just sort of take a look at the publicly filed patents that Apple engineers have filed with different commissions around the world, you can see there's a lot they're cooking up inside of that spaceship in Cupertino. Apple is very focused on some new designs for the iPhone. Maybe an all-glass iPhone could be a direction they go. They are still pursuing a portless, buttonless iPhone where we get fake, haptic, motorized sort of pieces of the iPhone that feel like clicky buttons but aren't clicky buttons, sort of like the old home button was with the iPhone 7. They still, for better or worse, want to explore a future where we don't have any ports on our iPhone. They're very interested in new designs and design languages for the iPhone. Something else Apple could certainly do is to find a way to take more risks and make the iPhone more exciting, but still keep their bread and butter. I think one of the issues that Apple faces right now is that the iPhone is very much targeted as a mass market device. They want to make something that as many people around the world as possible want to buy, which, in some cases leads some people like pros to sort of make compromises in what they're getting, but on the other hand, it's way more marketable. But what if Apple could sort of look at what they've done with the iPad and even the Mac, and they expand the lineup a bit to serve more of those niches in the community? For example, I know many of you guys would pay good money for an iPhone Mini Pro. A mini iPhone, super small, but with an OLED screen, great specs, great cameras, things like that. What if Apple went off and made that and added it to the lineup? On the flip side, what if they made an iPhone Ultra? What if they went all out with their design team, making the most crazy, ambitious iPhone we've ever seen with the most advanced tech and the most advanced cameras, and maybe they charged $3,000 for it? What if Apple sort of went the way of Samsung and kind of even Google it these days, and they just made a bunch of phones at a bunch of different price points? If they still had their bread and butter in the middle, they still had the iPhone 19 in the middle of the stack, but they had the iPhone 19 mini, they had an iPhone 19 mini Pro, they had an Air, they had an Ultra, a Pro. There are a lot of directions Apple could go that would sort of make the iPhone more exciting, but I guess sort of complicate the lineup and give us a lot of options. But hey, it would be nice, and I think that a lot of people would actually maybe prefer that over them just sort of shelving the iPhone entirely, or sort of doing what they've been doing for the last couple of years, which is just like making small, minor improvements to try to serve everybody, and really, in a lot of ways, make a lot of people sort of just unenthused about this sort of mix of titanium and glass. Something else that makes the future of the iPhone a little bit more exciting is some all new info on an iPhone Fold. For whatever reason, over the last couple of days, a flurry of new info has come out over this, and we're learning a lot. Not only is Apple still actively developing this thing, but it's gonna have under-display cameras. It's gonna have a 5.5-inch-ish screen on the outside and a nearly 8-inch screen on the inside. Apple is going more of the book route, the fold route, rather than the flip route. And most interesting of all, which is sort of controversial, is that for whatever reason, this thing would not have Face ID, probably due to the under-display camera stuff, but instead, Apple would actually go back to Touch ID and likely mount it on the side of the phone where the power button is, sort of like what they're already doing and have been doing for years on the iPad. So not only is there a wild world of Apple patents and iPhone Ultras and things like that, but an iPhone Fold isn't just something to consider. It is a real possibility, something actively being worked on that we could see in the next year or two. Hopefully not like 3 years away, but it's definitely on the table for sure. And I guess what's going to happen this fall with the iPhone 17 will be very telling on where we go. And I guess there's two ways this could go. I guess there's three ways. We could see this be the beginning of a new era for the iPhone where things get way more exciting. This could be the beginning of the end for the iPhone where Apple really pivots to something else. Or hopefully what we don't get is somewhere in the middle where Apple just sort of continues to sort of stagnate. They spin their wheels, they make some small changes, then that's sort of the course they stay on for the foreseeable future. I'm curious, what do you guys think about this? Where would you like to see the iPhone go, and where do you think we're gonna go? I'm sure many of us would love to see crazy iPhones and folding iPhones and something super, super exciting again. But on the flip side, do you think Apple's actually gonna do that? Or do you think they're gonna continue to play it safe, even if it means the iPhone might not ever become as cool as it once was, or what it really could be? Drop a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this, and we can debate the future of the iPhone together in the comments. Thanks guys so much for watching, I appreciate you all. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see ya in the next one.